What's up, guys? My name is Spencer, and this is the Full Court Talk podcast. So the first thing I want to go over today is what I want this podcast to be in the future and right now. So right now, I just want it to be just going through the news of the NBA and different things. You know, with the NBA on a hiatus, there's not a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go through top 5 duos, stuff like that, and just go through what I want to go through as of the moment. But if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. And in the future, I'd like it to become a debate-style podcast. So I want to get other people on here and eventually just have debates about random things going on in the NBA. I'd like to stay away from the GOAT discussion, but I would love to have debates with anyone, you know. But yeah, okay, so let's get into the 3 topics we have today. So the first topic is going to be the top 5 duos today in the NBA. This is assuming they're all healthy. And then the next topic is going to be what Bob Myers said on the 2018 championship run with the Warriors. It's pretty interesting, and I'll also go over both perspectives and say what I think about it at the end. And for the third topic, it's going to be 3 other little topics. There's a couple news things happening around the NBA, and they don't really justify having their own little topic. So I'm going to go over them just briefly. But if you like what you're hearing right now, if you're watching on YouTube, please sub, like, and comment. If you're on Podbean, please like and share. And for both, actually, comment your favorite duo of all time or right now, whichever one you like. So, to our first topic, top 5 duos. Starting from 5, I got KD and Kyrie. You know, they're on here because of their scoring ability. It's really hard to put them any higher because there's no sample. There's no real time of them playing together other than like USA basketball, and that's not NBA competition, you know. So, what I want to go through is, you know, they're 2 of the best scorers in the NBA. KD is easily, I think, one of the best scorers of all time, best scorer of my era, and he is one of the smoothest, he has the perfect mechanics for a jumper, and I think he's so tough to defend. Huge size, great length, great player. Kyrie, obviously so shifty, so crafty, and I think he's just probably one of the best ball handlers in the NBA. Gotta admit that. But if you want to hear the stats together, last season they averaged 50.8 points together. KD shot 52%. Kyrie shot 47.8%. They averaged 12 rebounds a game together and 11 assists. Of course, there's no record because they didn't play together this year or last year. So this one might be a little controversial, but the 4th duo I have is James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They're 4th due to their scoring ability and their playmaking. So obviously James Harden is the best scorer we have right now. He averaged 34.4 points a game this season and averaged 35 last year. And he does this all with also assisting and rebounding. And gotta admit, he was pretty efficient at it this season. Excuse me, but you know, he shot 43.5% from the field. Not bad, but when you're, it's okay, but more efficient than you thought it could be. Because he had some games where he would go 4-27, 4 of 20. He had some bad games this year. And I would know, he was on my fantasy team. I was paying attention to him pretty well because every night he was playing, I know his stats. But on to Russ. Russ started off he had a tough start to the season, but then he really picked it up towards the end, and I think he was going to have a tremendous second half because he was putting up MVP-type numbers again. And I think that kind of goes to the small ball, and they, instead of shifting their focus to James Harden and building around him, they really built their team around Russ, and I think that was a great idea because it helped them have shooters on the floor while Russ kind of played a point center role. He play point guard on offense, but on defense he would rebound the ball, and it was a very interesting thing, and I want to see how well they would do. But anyways, and their stats together, 61.9 points per game, which is the most out of any of the duos. Harden did shoot 43.5 from the field, which is the lowest out of anyone on here. Westbrook shot 47.4%, which is really good for Westbrook. I think he had a tremendous bounce back season. Together they averaged 14.4 assists and 14.4 rebounds. Their team record was 40-24 before the NBA hiatus. So, the next duo we're going to get to is Steph and Klay. They are the best shooting backcourt in NBA history. There's no doubting that. They are also one of the best scoring duos of all time, and we know this. They are tremendous from everywhere on the floor. There's not much you can say about them. You know, Klay does the defense, Steph does off-ball defense. He gets a lot of steals, but terrible on-ball defense, so that's why they're not higher on here, just because defensively they're a little challenged. I know Klay isn't, but Steph is. Stats together, 46.8 points per game on 47.2% for Steph and 46.7% from Klay. 8.8 rebounds a game together, 7.5 assists together. Shot 43% from 3 for Steph. That is insane. And Klay shot 40.2% from 3. And this is all from last year. I didn't count Steph's this year because the sample size was too small. But their team record last year was 57-25. I think all time they might rank higher, but right now they're two better duos this season. So the next one is Giannis and Chris Middleton. Giannis Antetokounmpo is obviously, I think he's the MVP this year. He's the MVP last year. One of the best players we've seen in a long time. He has the length, the size, the athleticism to get in the lane whenever he wants. And he's slowly building a three-point jumper. And as soon as he develops that three-point shot, he easily becomes one of the scariest players in the NBA. Chris Middleton is no slouch too. He was an all-star again this year. He averaged 20 points a game. He was in the 50-40-90 club for a while. He dipped just below with 49.9% from the field, but still, to be even close to that is amazing. Their stats together, 50.7 points per game on 54.7% from the field for Giannis and 49.9% for Chris Middleton. 19.9 rebounds a game, 9.9 assists a game, and their record was 53-12. They had a great year so far. And something I forgot to mention, they are very versatile on defense. Giannis can guard pretty much every position. Same thing goes for Chris. I think 1 through 3 for him is where you're going to get the best out of him. Even the 4 if they're going small. Now the top duo is pretty obvious at this point. LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're first due to their athleticism, scoring ability, defensive versatility. They might not have the three-point jumper on their side, but they're so dominant in the paint that it's just not fair. This is easily I think it's the best person that LeBron's ever played with. Obviously next to Shaq, but Shaq wasn't in the shape that Anthony Davis is in, and he wasn't as young as Anthony Davis as well. But that's scary. I mean, this duo is everything that was advertised. I think they're one of the truest people. Like, when people talk about them, Anthony Davis and LeBron are probably the best in the NBA right now. They average 52.4 points per game on 49.8% from the field for LeBron, 51.1% for AD, 17.3 rebounds, 13.7 assists, and their team record was 49-14. So that's my top duo for this year. So for the second topic, we're going to go over what Bob Myers thought about the 2018 championship. So Myers told ESPN's Nick Friedel that the second title with Kevin Durant wasn't a joy because it felt like, We just did what we were supposed to do, and great job. To be honest, the Last Dance documentary is just confirmation of what I was saying to our team all of last year in 2018. The whole messaging for the year was based on my experience with Chicago and feeling that level of fatigue and emotional toll that had been over the previous 4 years. And so watching this now is just a reminder of how difficult it is to sustain that kind of run. And I completely understand Bob Myers' perspective on this. It's so difficult to sustain that kind of ability and level of playing over the course of 4 years. What I don't understand is why he said it now. Kevin Durant left. You know, I think a lot of people in the Warriors organization still feel some type of way about that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it seems like they do because they keep talking about it. And what I mean by that is NBC Bay Area keeps talking about whenever Kevin Durant does something weird or anything on social media, they read an article about it. And I understand if you're salty because he left us. He won 2 championships with us. And it's tough to go through these things where people leave, but it's a business. He wanted to go play with his friend Kyrie. Respect the decision. I don't like the way it came out. I think a lot of people saw it as a slight to Kevin Durant, like a shot at him, because they said the way they worded it was weird, because all over Bleacher Report and all that, so it just said Bob Myers thought it wasn't a joy to have Kevin Durant, basically. Kevin Durant saw this, and he said those word I can't say. They look pretty. He basically said they look pretty happy in that picture when they won, and he's right. It must have felt so great to win that second championship, you know, and to do it against LeBron, a person that KD really, a person that KD looks up to, and thought that people would see him as the better player after this. I think he is, but you know, things happen. And I thought last year definitely felt like what Bob Myers was saying. I think anytime they lost, the Warriors fan was like, oh my God, blow it up. And I think, so I do understand the perspective where he's coming from. But when you think about what that means to KD, it's like, he and Bob Myers were supposed to be really close. And I think this was kind of like out of pocket for Bob Myers, because it's just a little odd because this whole thing ended. And I know they're talking about The Last Dance, but I just thought it was a very odd thing to come out with now. And I don't understand why he said it wasn't a joy, because Kevin Durant is such a entertaining player to watch. That's why he's one of my favorites. He will always be one of my favorite players. So it's just, I didn't like the way it came out, and I didn't like how it made it seem that KD wasn't a joy, because I think he was a tremendous joy to watch, night in, night out. That's what I think about it. So I guess I'm on KD's side with this. I don't like what Bob Myers said. So for the third and final topic, it's just smaller stuff. You know, I think we all know about Adam Silver's decision to cancel or continue the season. Could happen in 2 to 4 weeks. There's no talk of what form the season could take, and they don't know of all teams, if all teams will return. This could mean they're thinking of starting in the playoffs, and I know I went over this in an article, but I'll briefly go over that. Basically, if they start in the playoffs, I think they're taking away a lot of teams' chances to sneak into the playoffs. Memphis was hanging on by a thread. Portland and the Pelicans were very close to them. So if they start in the playoffs, I think Pelicans and Trailblazer fans will have something to say about that. But if they keep continuing is it fair because a lot of teams aren't getting the practice that they need right now? And it's tough. I think there's a lot of questions that need to go into this. And, I don't even think Adam Silver knows right now. We're still a couple weeks out from his decision. And when he comes up with a decision, I'll be here and I'll talk about what I think about it. And a couple teams are already opening their practice facilities again, and looks like things are getting closer and they're moving towards the idea of starting the season again. From which point, we don't know yet. Anyways, so another smaller piece of news was Spencer Dinwiddie. And I'm sure a lot of people saw this. I don't know if he's serious or not, but he has auctioned his free agency by letting fans donate to a GoFundMe to reach a Bitcoin target of $24.6 million. Now, I'm not sure if he would receive said money and also a contract, because he could be a genius. Maybe he reaches the goal, goes to the team that the fans want him to. He gets another fat contract, and he gets basically 2 contracts. That would be pretty good finesse by him. Now, I'm not sure if he's serious. I don't think people are going to donate $24.6 million to get Spencer Dinwiddie on their team. But if you do, good for you. You went and got a player. Maybe you can get him on a low contract, like a veteran's minimum. But that was a very interesting thing to see on Twitter and Instagram. But, smaller piece of news, but kind of big news. Spalding's contract with the NBA is going to end next season. That means Wilson basketballs are going to be the NBA's basketball, which I think is a good idea. I like Wilson basketballs. I personally play with a Wilson basketball. I think they're great. That's all that needs to be said on that. But interesting that they're going to switch to it. And another thing that needs to be said, if the NBA is to return, Kevin Durant will not play. They haven't said about Kyrie, at least I haven't seen anything about Kyrie, but I think a lot of people were thinking that Kevin Durant was going to come back, and the NBA hiatus was going to really help the Nets because Kevin Durant was going to come back. And even I thought Kevin Durant was going to come back, and if he did, that would be one of the most interesting first matchups. I don't know who they would play if they went into the playoffs, but I think it would be Boston, and that would be such a great series to see Nets Celtics with KD. That would be a great series. But anyways, that's all we have for today. Please follow me on my social media, all at Full Court Talk. Check out my website. Got a lot of good articles. Got my previous podcast. Got a couple interviews with Festa Zealy. I got J.E. Skeets from the Starters. Check it out. Really good stuff on there. If you're watching on YouTube, sub, comment, like it, please share it. If you're on Podbean, please like and comment, share it, please. Anything helps. But that's it for me today. Guys. Thanks, and have a great day.